Night City is a place where every single citizen will have a weapon or they're packing heat in some way, shape, or form. But what happens when you just decide, I don't want to use guns? I would rather use my mind as the way to get rid of everybody. Well, you get something kind of like this. You destroy everyone. Let's try the net running setup this time. I have a decent attribute split. Intelligence, let me tell you this. You basically want everything you can get for hacking. Like you can see, I have like 2 or 3 things tops that are not actually selected. It sadly seems necessary to get every single thing for a net running. It is insane to me. But it gets results, I can tell you that much. You basically want to stack as much things as you can in the queue, which is that left side. This middle side kind of just gives you overclocking and like more damage per like unique dot you have on the target. There's a lot. Overclocking is pretty integral to this build, so you kind of want to get used to overclocking and how to restore health during it and all that jazz. There's a few things in here that are not used nearly as much as the others, but we still use a good chunk of it. Relic Tree, I got a lot of the same stuff, except I got the monowire thing instead of projectile launch system from last build. I use a little bit of stealth, that's why I have some of the bottom right tray and cool, but I have a pistol build as well. I don't use stealth a whole lot anymore, but it was the starting basis for this build, was to kind of stealth around a little bit more and all that. Reflexes, I literally only have stuff for the dash. I only care about the dash. I need the dash in my life. My actual weapons, my main one for actual stealth is Pride. This thing is crazy. It goes so hard. I use Johnny's pistol is just kind of there, but this one, is it Gris Gris or Gree Gree? I don't know. What matters is it randomly loads in quick hacks. That's what matters. It synergizes so well. Every single piece of cyberware you see here, sure, it may not be as much as my last one because I don't have technical ability, but every single one is good for your net running. I also use the Raven cyber deck to help spread all of the quick hacks. It just helps clear out crowds more. So this build mainly revolves around just using quick hacks in every single scenario, but my pistols do serve some form of function in this build. This one, the mainly is the Gree Gree, the Gris Gris, whatever. The one that gives you random quick hacks, it should stack with the one perk where it's like as soon as you have more unique dots on a target, it should do more damage. And since this one, it's random what quick hack you get, and the better ones don't always pop up, but if you get just, random one that gives them like a status ailment, it should do, at least a little bit towards giving you more damage when you actually hit the target, because it technically should count as a dot. I use the monowire very little in this build, but it does serve some purpose. I mean, I don't have a melee weapon otherwise, and that thing can upload quick hacks, so it kind of works. I don't have a lot of experience with it, other than, before it was actually really good, so I need to use it more now, but it does work, I can tell you that much. So the main quick hacks I use, you'll see them on the screen, is Contagion Overheat, and then the other combo is Cyberware Malfunction and Short Circuit. These two combinations I have found to be probably the most consistent for me. I use the ping and no, it's not ping, it's bait actually, and call backup to get everybody kind of, you know, together, and that helps so much for getting the overheat and contagion off to just spread to every single one of these people. Like obviously, as you see, you don't need it to spread, but it helps that much more because you're grouping them up. The cyberware malfunction and short circuit combo is really good for anybody that is a Sandy user or anything like that, but it's also just good in general because it does heavy shock damage to the target, so if they're weak to that, that is what you want. It basically does come down to if the target is weaker to fire or shock, whichever one you want to use. That is the good thing about that kind of setup is, if they're good against fire, you go for the shock. If they're good against the shock, you go for the fire. And that will allow you to kind of go around their resistances and work with their weaknesses rather than, fighting a wall. Contagion alone will not spread through every single enemy in a crowd a lot of the time. You need just a little bit extra to push it that much further. That's where the Raven Cyber deck comes on into play. This thing, I think it does 40% spread chance for all your quick hacks, so that just helps you get everything out there so much more. It's so good. It doesn't even matter if it doesn't proc, because a lot of the time you just get contagion to spread naturally and you're hitting all the targets with overheat or whatever else you're doing. The last two quick hacks I usually use are kind of flex slots. Detonate Grenade is just good because it costs so little to do and most enemies have grenades on them. And I usually switch between Cyberpsychosis and other quick hacks like that, just like a random crazy one that might get something done, but you don't necessarily need it because it might be a little too strong in certain areas, or your stuff is actually better than that for taking on the crowds. It's really more of a distraction for enemies if you do Cyberpsychosis, for example. For the people that can load quick hacks into the monowire, I recommend Cripple Movement is the one I was using. But I know that you can also do cyberware malfunction in that too, I'm pretty sure, because it loads in control quick hacks, if I'm not mistaken. I suppose we should talk about alternatives to just pistols. I think the entire tray on that left side in cool also governs sniper rifles and precision rifles, so you have options there if you're not just a pistol guy. There's way too many pistols in Night City as it is, so you might as well use a few. But there are a few rifles that I have used, like the one that you can get for doing some Pan Am stuff. Not her rifle, but Nash's, I think his name was. I don't remember really. I hardly pay attention to her storyline. There's another one. I think it's a beat on the Brat storyline. You face the military guy with military implants. He has a really good explosive sniper that would absolutely destroy in a build like this, honestly. If you're gonna go pistols, I recommend a few of them, sure, but straight power ones, a good one I would say is Roscoe. That thing, you get it from the Phantom Liberty DLC, it's in a gig. It is so good for just like raw damage when you can actually get it to work, because it's one of those ones where you have to shoot him in the leg and then shoot him in the head, and then it's, actually going to hit them for a really good amount of damage. I don't do a lot of stealthing in this build anymore, but Pride, the one you get from, I think it's Rogue's storyline with, Johnny and all this stuff, that pistol is really, really good at just headshot damage in general, but it's really good at stealth as well. But for the sake of this build, I would say the Gree, the Gris, whatever the fuck this thing is called, is probably the best thing to synergize with, the dot damage from quick hacks and all that, because when you actually get a random quick hack with this thing and then you put another one on them through your cyber deck, you will get more damage because of the extra dots, if I'm not mistaken. So that is just like crazy good. Just anything to give you more quick hack damage is kind of cash money in a build like this. So I kind of built into that as much as I could. So I use overclocking to just stack a whole bunch of quick hacks on a target more than just like damage outright, because it can do good shit for that, but honestly, I think it is more about getting the quick hacks out as much as you can, as fast as possible. So that's where the value comes from. Being able to keep overclocked up and running and actually keep you alive throughout the whole thing is not always easy, but we have the blood pump to keep our health topped off really well, and we have other perks in the intelligence trays that will allow us to essentially, when we're in overclock, to recover health when we're supposed to recover RAM at the same time, essentially. So it's getting you 2 for 1 for that, and that'll allow you to essentially keep the engine rolling, if you will. Keep it running, keep it going, keep the hacks flowing, keep the crowds just controlled. It's really, really strong, but it's kind of a gameplay loop you have to learn through doing, if you know what I mean. This build is all around something you kind of have to get used to, learn by doing rather than by watching, so even with me showing you how I do these things, we may not really know how it all works is put together until you finally try it for yourself, So if you're gonna do it, I recommend starting it from the beginning, like any other build. It's gonna, be a little rough at first, but part of the fun is finding out how to use everything, what you need to use better, like all this shit that goes together, like to make the build. That's part of the fun, I suppose. If you're going to go stealth, obviously you only need a few things for that. There's a different cyber deck for stealth ones. I think it's the Arasaka one for like stealth quick hacking and all that, but I tried it. I didn't like a lot of that. Personally, I went with the straight up, just like send them kind of play style, as you can see. And that's why I also took the dashes, because it goes into that play style. What else is there? Um, the monowires are not attuned to anything, so kind of just pick the one you want. Any elemental thing will work. It's kind of cool either way you do it. Um, I don't really have much else to say about the build other than like it's one of the most powerful if you play it right. So learn how to play it if you wanted to do it, and you'll be treated very well with a build that will serve you, I will say. I'm going to leave y'all with a big gig that I did. It's not like big, it's just like a large area, bunch of enemies. Show you like what a battle of attrition is like. I hope you enjoyed this, and I thank you for watching. It's really nice that you've watched and made it this far.